We apologize for this last-minute change to schedule, as I have looked at the calendar and realized that today is in fact one of my favorite days of the year. Halloween, where we all wear our masks in a more literal sense of the word, which I may or may not be doing later tonight. But in the meantime, I've decided to commemorate this occasion with a reading of a scene from a zombie film that I started writing 3 years ago. As a bit of context for this scene, there has been an argument within the group, and followed by a tense standoff, which is interrupted by the news anchor on TV. We now cross live to St. Sebastian's Cathedral, where the group known as the Pandemic Herald are conducting its Ascension ceremony. A sense of morbid curiosity gets the better of them as they gather around the TV. They know they'll not like what they see, yet are unable to look away. Inside the church, a lone camera operator from the news station is perched on a balcony overlooking the grisly spectacle below. All the seats are full, and the congregation are wearing anything from suits to cloaks, masks, or just plain casual. Hooded acolytes stand at all the exits. Zombies are chained to the columns either side of the church and are covered in stab wounds, while a relatively clean and unharmed zombie is bound to the altar. Behind the altar stands the cult leader from the newspaper cover, still wearing his ceremonial robes. An ornate kris with a biohazard symbol on its pommel is tucked into his belt. Now that he is shown in color, it is noticeable that his skin is already somewhat pale and corpse-like. Josh points at the screen and tries to force a laugh. Look who decided to crawl out of their mother's basement. Nobody pays him any attention. The cult leader then begins to speak. His voice is rough from lack of use, yet it projects with fire and venom. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and the people of the world. I would like to begin by thanking our good friend General Cooper for allowing us to proceed without interruptions. All of you out there for tuning in, and especially those who sit before me of differing faiths and cultures who have traveled far and wide to join us as we let go of our humanity and help the deluded masses who so desperately cling to theirs. Little do they realize it is the root of all evil, which is, after all, a concept exclusive to our species. I'm sure the same could be said for the concept of good. But I ask you, which has been more prevalent in our society? For too long we have killed each other, poisoned the air, scorched the earth, and for what? Fame? Fortune? Religion? Concepts that are once again exclusive to our species. And somehow we still label acts of cruelty as inhuman when they are what have defined us. It ends now! The crowd cheers. So let me pose another question. Do you know why people fear the zombies? Is it because they're not fully understood? Or because they are perceived as unnatural? Or is it the thought that we, or our children, might end up just like them if we are not careful? Ha! Those are the same reasons why we're afraid of anyone different from ourselves. The real reason, which makes them so special, is because deep down, at the heart of every human being, is a big, black, bottomless hole, a hunger that can never be satisfied. We try in vain to fill it with so many things, often without thinking of the consequences, or disregarding the harm it may cause others. But the zombies are so much more than a reflection. Their hunger is more straightforward. Their hunger is pure. For many, it is like looking in a mirror and seeing not what you are, but what you should be, and it scares the hell out of them. Nobody likes to be wrong, especially when it's about how they have lived their entire lives. Zombies do not kill each other, they do not pollute, and they have no need for weapons or currency. All they do is seek out people to be turned to their ways, far superior to the filth they used to be. The cult leader then draws his kris, and with both hands, he plunges it into the zombie on the altar. We have been given many chances to do things differently, to make things right, and we have squandered every single one of them. Regardless of whether the zombies are an act of divine punishment or an experiment gone wrong, they are here to save us from ourselves, and we are here to help them as best we can. The cult leader then pulls out the bloodied kris and holds out his left arm. He clenches his teeth as he stabs it into his upper arm until the tip of it is just emerging from the other side. Then he drags it down towards his wrist, moving it up and down in a sawing motion until it eventually comes loose. The now split arm hangs limp beside him, bleeding profusely. The cult leader stands there, his complexion becoming ever more pale, starting to sway and twitch. But he regains his composure before raising the kris above his head in triumph. I renounce my humanity! The congregation cheers. Your turn, everybody! The congregation then begins to stand up, drawing their own bloodied blades and cutting and stabbing themselves amidst cries of, "We renounce our humanity!" Except for one man who jumps out of his seat and runs towards the nearest exit. Bring him to me! The cult leader demands. Two acolytes grab him and drag him to the altar to face the cult leader, where he begins to plead. Please! I don't want this! The cult leader hands him the kris. Look around and listen to me carefully, because I am giving you a choice. I'm not going to stop you from leaving if that's what you truly want, but in coming here, you have sealed your fate. Regardless of whether it's by our blades, their teeth, or your own hands. So what's it going to be? Trembling, the man looks around the church, to the exit, then back to the cult leader who is watching him expectantly. With a shaky hand, the man stabs the cult leader in the torso. The acolytes run over to intervene, but the cult leader waves them away as he glares at the man. And what the hell did you think that was going to accomplish? Before turning to the congregation. Here is a problem that I failed to mention. Not just the people who are ruining the world, but the people who do nothing. I gave this man a choice. Join us or go. He then looks down at the kris still lodged in his torso. And this is what he picked! He then turns back to the man. Perhaps you're not paying attention, but he then twitches his arm and grabs it and waves it in front of the man's face. I've already killed myself, so this makes no goddamn difference! The cult leader then tries to calm down as he drops his left arm and pulls out the kris, while the man watches him, stunned and not knowing what to do or say. Let's try this again, shall we? Here you stand, front and center, on the first page in the final chapter of human history, with the whole world watching you. Will you hide from your fate and cower in fear? Or will you embrace it and be part of something greater than yourself and give your final moments some meaning? Besides, if you had so much to live for, then what was it that brought you here? The man stands there like a deer caught in headlights, and the cult leader senses his vulnerability. What are you? I'm a human being. Yes, and what is that? The root of all evil. Yes! Admitting is the first step, but what are you going to do about it? The cult leader hands him the kris once again. I renounce my humanity! The man closes his eyes and grits his teeth as he runs the blade along his hand. When he has finished, the cult leader grabs his other hand and it raises it above their heads. Ladies and gentlemen, our newest member! The congregation explodes into full uproar. The cult leader then drops the man's hand and points towards the exit door, Blood sprays from his mouth as he bellows over the top of the congregation. Now go forth, my brethren, for tonight we die! Tomorrow we feed! The frenzied congregation starts piling towards the exits. The man stares at his cut hand, still shocked at what he has done, but then runs towards the exit and is lost in the crowd. The cult leader tries to join them, but only makes it a couple of steps before falling over. The acolytes run over to help, and the cult leader merely laughs at them. What? You're worried something's gonna happen to me? Get out there and show them how it's done! The acolytes nod before joining the crowd, as the cult leader slumps back against the altar, where he continues to laugh and howl at the ceiling. A volley of bloodied arrows and darts flies past the camera, and a scream can be heard behind it as it falls. We then cut back to the newsroom, where the news anchor is shocked, speechless, and covering her mouth. She then puts a hand over her ear as the earpiece roars into life. We are just receiving reports of riots breaking out in several of the quarantine checkpoints and explosions along the barricades. It appears as though... Ben quickly turns off the TV. Guys! That church is 3 blocks from here. Everyone frantically runs around the house, turning off all the lights and closing all the curtains. The group then sits together on the floor as the distant sounds of breaking glass, yelling, screaming, laughter, and the occasional gunshot get closer and closer. Let me know what you think and if I should continue writing that. In the meantime, I am wishing you all the happiest of Halloweens. Take care and don't do anything that I would. And next week we will be back to business as usual with Gorilla Gate Part 6, The Scandal. Until then, stay woke, people.
Mm.